I got cut off. So I hope people come back. I'm not sure what happened then. I got, sometimes when my phone rings, we get cut off. Ah, the crows are here. The crows are here. Hi, Murray. Thanks for finding me. We got cut off. And someone else is here. Thank you for coming back. That's never happened before. Oh, Katie's here. So the other part of this, we just got cut off. Hopefully people can come back on. I don't know if I'll have to share this again or not. Oh, and Satchko. Okay, so we're coming back. Okay, good. You found me. I was thinking, how am I going to get people to find me? Now, the ravens are outside. I don't know. I think Murray might have heard them. I'm not sure if the rest of you heard them. But the ravens are outside. The ravens are the energy of the Great Mother as well. So when I say that she's here, it's an energy. It's a very powerful, forceful energy. In some ways, more forceful than the female, or what we see as the female, if that makes sense. All right, let me just get out of here and share this. I don't know, would I have to share it again or not? Technology. What do you think? So I was on a roll and I got cut off. That's just typical of that energy, right? When technology gets a little, you know. So, oh, geez. You know what? This is bizarre because I'm playing somebody else's live, and how do I even get out of that? Okay. So this is the new one. So I'm going to share the new one just to my page. Other people can find. Where we are. Okay. So are there any questions to what I was talking about? If you remember what I was talking about at all. Oh, the categorization of masculine, feminine, or yin yang, or positive, negative, heaven, earth, north, south, you know, all these different poles. Okay. I think that's... I'll be with you in 2 seconds. I find this very amusing. Very amusing. Okay. Done, 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 done. So what was I talking about? Dissecting. And hey, Stephen. Hey, Catherine. I am back, I think. Yes. Yes, you're back. I am back, I think. Benjamin, welcome. Catherine Ray, welcome. I'm wondering about feminine and masculine. Good, we're talking about that. Katie, you said about 72,000 something? Nadis, N-A-D-I-S, Nadis. Megan, welcome back. Woo, got you all back. Katie, welcome. All right, we're back. We've got the important ones here. No, you're all important. Okay. Really interesting that as I got cut off, the ravens came in. The ravens, you know, I'll tell you a little story because I'm a storyteller. For many, 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 many years, I have been drawn through magnetic force. Magnetic force is the force or the surge or the charge of energy that assists with your Kundalini awakening or rising, activation. They're all different things, but they're all part of that ascension process, okay? Everywhere that I went, so I would just be drawn to something and I would go, literally I would go. So those of you that know me or have studied with me for years know this. And I don't think about it. I get the pull, the magnetic force, and I just sort it out and get there. Now I know, it's a knowing, that when I get to that place, I won't know why I'm there. But over the years, I realized with real eyes, I was seeing the repetitive patterns of, for me, it was the energy of the Black Madonna, which is the energy of an aspect of the Great Mother. So, you know, the Black Madonna, Kali, Isis, Hathor, it goes on. They're all the same energy. They're wrapped in the deity, but it is the mother. You know, all the great mothers. So I'm about to take a book with me. I've had it for years. It's one of my painting teachers, her mother, who's a poet, wrote it. It's called Rachel's Bag, and it's about the mothers in history of religion, basically. I'm not religious as such. However, this is about the feminine leaders over history, and that history has been almost forgotten. So, you know, we talk about Sarah, you know, all the great mothers, okay? Literally the living women in history, and their journeys. So I'm taking that book with me. I've had it for years because you can't buy it here. I bought it in America, and I've been meaning to read it, but I really don't read books. So I've had it, and I thought, okay, let's just see if it gets read, because sometimes I'll just carry books around the world with me. I never open them. So, so have I wrapped up everything? Am I making sense? So I was talking about the nadis, 72,000 nadis, how we dissect or categorize the body or the energies of the body so that we can understand them. So that makes sense, doesn't it? It's really difficult to not categorize. So my background's anthropology, and every culture pretty much categorizes so that the people around them can understand what they're talking about, okay? So it's one of those things that we've sort of, we are doing it, but I want you to be mindful that if we take a little step back, that it's all connected, okay? So I'm using the meridians as an example, but it is literally a massive energetic pathway that goes through the whole body. It links into all the organs and whatnot. How we play. So Katie, you might be interested in this if you're learning about meridians, and I've just told you about nadis. Frequency and the music of the spheres. So we talked about hearing sounds and the music of the spheres last week, pretty sure. Murray, was it last week or was it yesterday? I don't know. I don't keep track of time. We talked about sound, the music of the spheres, the harmonics that some of us can hear as we move through these power centers of the body. So I was moving through power centers of the earth physically as a gatekeeper. That's one of my jobs until I hold the gates. And so now I don't have to travel to far off places to do that type of work, because I hold the gates. That is the power. The females that hold power, okay? All females hold power. But when it's activated, that's the power that I was talking about before, that the women are attracting and the men are receiving, and it's like a magnet. So it's energetic, but it's physical as well. And if we're not doing that, men, see, this is your role. It's not about not talking about men or them not having a place or whatnot. We've got our different polarities. We're all of the polarities, right? So we talked about this as well. The top of our head is negative. The bottom of our feet is positive. The earth is negative, and when the bottom of the feet hit the earth, we connect. There's a reception, a giving and a taking. When the male and female come together in grace, with what's the word I'm looking for? Consent. Okay. There's that exchange. It's we're going from positive to negative, and the neutral pole, the neutral, I don't want to put my finger up at you, but the neutrals, right? Positive, negative, positive, negative, but neutral poles. We've also got the neutral pole within our system, and that's what the two, we could say the major nadis, the male, female, are wrapping around or dancing within the body and activating the power centers for full activation. So when I say, if your power centers or your chakras aren't activated, really you'd be dead, right? But when they're fully activated, we're talking about a higher energetic, full activation. So just put that aside for now. When we get to the heart, that's right, that's what I started to talk about. When we get to the heart, along the way there's knots, and it's not straight up, so I don't want to confuse you, but there's about 9 different ways that this energy can move through and activate, and some goes through, some don't. Some are called false kundalini, some are Sushumna activations, which aren't kundalini. They're practicing and getting your energies ready for that full force of that great energy. Okay. So we need the magnetic force to charge that and to start that process. But we also need our field, our biofield, our aura to have magnetic force. Reason that I'm going there. So good, I'm on track. It'd be much easier if I used notes, but I never know what I'm going to talk about. It tends to be who shows up where I go, because it's the energy of you and what's going on for you mainly that is how this happens. So let me just say, hey Sandra, welcome. And Nan, welcome, and Diane, woo! Okay, so I'm going to go and look at the comments and whatnot in a moment. I just want to get this train of thought out first. Well, it's not really thought, it's just following that line of energy, and it's to do with the knots or the locks within the body. You could see them as blocks or whatnot, but they're let's just call them locks or knots. And Murray was talking about breathing exercises last time we were on, and some of the breathing exercises or breath is how we can push through some of these. But it's not just the breath. It's an amalgamation of movement, intention, where you place your intent or your gaze, and how you move it all together. And that's the key, because you can do yoga, and without the breath, you're going to have probably a good looking body, strong, but you're not going to have the activations that I'm talking about. It is the breath, the life force, the essence. You have postnatal essence and prenatal essence. So I diverged there. I tend to weave things together. All right, let me just see if I've woven that together well enough. Okay, back to the heart. So it is that heart knot we get to here, and it's here where most of you are sitting, or near there, somewhere here. Some of you might be at the higher soul heart, which is the thymus. It's a higher aspect of heart. I call it the soul, the higher soul heart, because it is just that. You've got, you know, your physical heart, your heart center, your sacred heart slightly off to the left and inwards. Sometimes you can feel it if you place your intention there, with the intention of connecting with your sacred heart, and you might feel that a energy actually expands out, or some people feel the energy expand in. It's not right. Anyway, and some will feel both, and all of them are fine. But sitting in the sacred heart is a wonderful practice, and there's an actual sacred heart technique where if you're feeling an emotion, so let's bring it back to the emotions that I was talking about earlier. When we're feeling an emotion that is a little bit overwhelming, we can bring it to the sacred heart. Okay? Not the physical heart. The physical heart can't hold that amount of energy, and it can create difficulty for the physical organ. So we're never bringing it to our physical heart, right? It's slightly, for most people, and I've been teaching this for many years, so if you go physical heart, roughly where's your physical heart, and you go slightly to the left and slightly down, mine's sort of around there. But yours can be slightly different, you know, we're all slightly different. Feel for it with your intention. And so if you, for instance, we can do it for a moment now if you like, but you're just feeling with your intention to access the sacred heart. Sometimes people can go in the back. You might find it by going through the back. It's like in the Kabbalah, they often talk about the cave, you know, this cave. It is sort of like a cave. The color is usually pink. It's a pink color, but you can use it. It's such a, I've told this story for many, many years, but when my daughter was in a coma and all her organs were basically, they didn't know if she was going to live or not, I took every emotion to the sacred heart numerous times a day, and it is like lifting it up again. Okay, so our topic tonight is grace, right? It's like giving it up in love to that grace, that sacred heart energy, and it holds it for you. I got through that because of that technique, and I haven't gone into the ins and outs of it, but that's it in a nutshell. I mean, just with what I've told you, you could practice that. Just practice accessing the sacred heart. It will change your life, because I can tell you, when you're moving through the world and you've not mastered the neutral mind yet, when the polarities come in, or the light shadow comes in, because it's all one, right? You can't have one without the other. So until you've mastered the observing of the flow of all of it, you go into one or the other, okay? So you might have great joys and you might have great sorrows. When you have a great sorrow and it feels too big for you to hold, the sacred heart is your grace. So anyway, hope that is helpful. Why was I bringing that in? Oh, the hearts. I come off on my little tangents. So that's the sacred heart, and then we've got this higher soul heart. And so when we have a heart activation, so we're talking about a lot of heart tonight, so I'm wondering whether there's a few of you that are actually either just had a heart activation, or are having or about to have heart activation, because usually that's how it works. Then you can keep some of this in mind, okay? So my mango smoothie that I just made. We've also got the 7 heart points of light that go from like the bottom of the sternum to the bottom of the neck. These are points of light. When they're fully activated and illuminated, they move to the head. And then when they're resonating, and the pineal, pituitary, hypothalamus, the glands that are your major glands physically, but energetically, when they resonate at the same frequencies. This is how I explain it. It's a bit more complex than this, but to keep it simple or as much as possible. When they're resonating, so through your practice, whatever that might be, your goal is to have that all resonating so that you can go to the next level. So I would say that most of you are practicing opening the many heart points, channels, accessing, you know, from solar plexus or high solar plexus to heart, okay? Heart awakening. This is where you really start to see your life changing and things moving, and really you can have quite a lot of challenges too, because as you empty yourself, which is what happens, the love comes in like nothing else. It's like you are overwhelmed with love. You have tears. You are very emotional and all of this. So some of you I know have been through aspects of this. But for those that haven't, it feels important to say. And when that happens, it can be moments or hours or days when the sadness, sorrow, grief, loss comes in. It's like as our container fills with love, it needs to, the muck has to rise and overflow out of the bucket, so to speak, right? It's sort of like the lily pad pond analogy I told the other day, like when we're moving energy, you know, we're sort of moving the muddy muck out of the way so that the newness can come in. It has a space. We're not creating and we're not destroying anything. It's really just the movement and transformation, because it's all already there. Everything you need, everything you are is already there, right? You have the power. It's about whether you are switching the light on or not. You just got to reach out and switch the light on. And that is doing some sort of practice, because our humanness is into these behaviors that are habitual, and it's about having another habit which gives you life. So if you're going to have an addiction, have one that brings life rather than not so much, right? That's my choice. So if you have whatever that might be, so whether you do breath work, yoga, meditation, prayer, energy work, particular activations, whatnot, okay? They're all practices. It's a matter of doing it. You will not, I can tell you, if you know somebody, you let me know. I want to meet them. You will not wake up one morning and be fully activated. You won't. So if you're praying for that, actually I tell a lie, because it's by the hand of God that you are graced, right? God meaning whatever I say, the beloved, the energy that I call the beloved, which is neither male, female, okay? It's supreme source. You can be graced, but let me tell you, if you're waiting for that, it might not be this lifetime, okay? Let me just see. Okay. So yeah, there are ways and means of knowing where you're at. That doesn't feel like we need to go there. Because you can feel, well, I can feel, so the magnetic, so I link into your magnetic force, and my hand will go where you're activated to, or we can scan that. It's not everybody can do that though. So yeah, don't get caught up on where you're at. Get caught up on your practice and surrender to the surrendering. Okay, that's the grace. So when I started, I'm trying to think if I've come full circle on the power of the feminine, being able to attract, so like a magnet. And I did post about, did I post it? Let me see. I was talking about about the I told you earlier about the major saints that needed the power of a particular power of women, but they can't just take it. They have to. Okay, now I know why I'm going here now. Okay, so bear with me, because it does sound a little, for our human mind, it's going to be like, what on earth is she talking about? Or you may have a physical reaction of like, you know, I don't know, but bear with me, because I'm talking about the energy, and I'm just trying to give you examples that your mind might be able to at least hang on to for a moment while I get to the point. My point is that when it's like we need both to get to that neutral space, and then the neutral space takes us to the higher energies, you know. I'm just seeing if I could say that better. That was really poor, sorry. Okay, basically what I'm saying is, I think I'm trying to feel this energy out, because it's sort of showing me something, but it's like trying to decode it. That you need an activation, something, the force to basically activate this process that I'm talking about. At different levels, we then need different things to push through the different centers. So some of you, I think some of you are on here. We've talked about particular movements that I call kriyas, or spontaneous chi, which is where we are being, like, it feels like our bodies, you know, we might be having twitches, or your head might go. If I sit here in state, what I call in state, right? I'll just move the pillow, right? And I just sit in full access. See my head moves? That's what I'm talking about. When you surrender your body completely, spontaneous chi happens. So feel my feet tingling, like my legs want to move, but okay, I'm sitting down, but my head's moving. Now, before I got to where I'm at, particularly when I was going from high up, soul heart to my throat, the movements were quite aggressive. Like, sometimes I thought my head was going to fall off, right? Because the energy, what it's doing, the energy is trying to move through and activate and pierce through these centers. Whether you like it or not, once you're activated to that degree, it will be trying to assist you and move through. That Shakti, what I used to call Shakti energy, I would speak with her constantly. It's about, oh, that's what I wanted to say. Okay, I know it's coming now. It's about courting and having a relationship with this energy, just as it is the man courting or the woman. Like, yeah, we can do all that feminist stuff, but let's just keep it to basics, right? That somebody's courting somebody, right? In real life, right? You don't just jump on somebody and they're going to stay. You know what I'm saying? There's a courting that's happening. There's a relationship building. It's like you're calling to the beloved, right? So in yourself, you're doing the same thing. And that feminine energy, which I call Shakti, which is that power force when that Kundalini is surging, she needs you to back off and allow her to do what she needs to do. So, or that energy to do what it needs to do, to get you to where, if you're understanding and you're still with me, you're obviously on that journey, the evolution of the human, okay? We need to get out of the way and allow her to do her dance and push through where she needs to. Now, that pushing through can hurt like nothing else. It can be really painful. It just depends what access and what route it's taking and what you've got there, okay? So everybody will be slightly different to the pain or the pressure that when that energy is trying to push through, what that feels like or what that's like, okay? If it feels like a surging that's really lovely, just really enjoyable, and you've got this surging going up and whatever, I'm careful what I'm saying here. I would suggest that that's not Kundalini. That's the Sushumna practicing. The energy's practicing, preparing the body. And it's a beautiful, comfortable, flowing feeling. And over the years, that when I'd have people say they've had these activations and whatnot, I can scan for that. I can feel for that, and I can see what activations are happening. So it's not to put them down, and I'll only do it if they're asking me. But that's an understanding so that they can practice, because it is still part of the path of evolution where that surging of energy is preparing the channels for when it really pushes through, okay? It's like we need centrifugal force. It's literally to create the amount of charge to push through. It's heat. So the breath and the movement and our particular activations assist with that. Anyway, I think that's enough of that. I'm not sure if I'm boring people to tears or not. Okay. So let's just see what people are saying. I've experienced some of this process, a lot of pain involved as well. I was on the pathway open for love. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, is there anything else you want to know? Have I covered everything? So building magnetic force, looking after your field. The field, or that magnetic force, is what pulls and pushes out, pulls in your experiences and pushes out your experiences to a point. There comes a time where your force is strong enough that how do I put this? Some of it I don't have words for. There are minor vortices that can be within the system that can come off different parts of the body that are almost like a misalignment, so to speak, and we can sort those out. We can actually see whether they're pulling in or pushing out particular experiences. The main field is something different again. So whatever you're practicing has to be, if you want my opinion, it has to be stronger than what you were doing. To shift from one state to another, your process and your practice has to be stronger than what you were doing. Does that make sense? Sort of? Not sure how else to put that. So if you do breath work, make sure you do that breath work with like your beloved's life depends on it, right? Because you're courting the beloved, you're courting that energy to dance, but to dance with that beloved, it's almost like you have to dance with a few of, you know, a few of the other ones at the ball before you get to the beloved, right? So dancing with the mother, dancing with the father, dancing with the beloved, okay? Courting, loving. How you do that? Well, I'll say this and then oh, it's only 7 o'clock, it's okay. How you do that, numerous ways, but what I'm going to suggest to you, which is like just something simple so I don't have to go through the hows and whys and whatnot. We can do that in some of the classes. How do you know how you read all these posts and all these blogs and see it on TV shows and whatnot, people doing Facebook Live, all you need is love. It's all about love. How do you love yourself? You just got to love yourself, right? How? Give me an amen, sister, if you agree with that. Hey, Dina. Right, the how. Because it's not as easy. I know that. So when I teach and when I share things, just know that I've been through this stuff. I teach from direct experience. There is nothing that I'm sharing with you that I haven't directly experienced myself. That's the mystic path. We teach from experience, not from a book, not from theory, not from university or whatever. Some of that I might bring in to overlay with the direct experience, right? But it's about how do we get, oh, thanks, Murray. Yeah, I'm watching the time. I have got time. I just thought I would give myself an hour. Okay, where was I? I appreciate you timekeeping for me. I need it. Okay. Where was I, people? Where was I? Oh, amen, sister, that's right. Okay. How to love the self. Notice I said the self. So there are different levels, and we've touched on this over time, but I haven't talked about it to the people that are here tonight, because most of you are fairly new to my energy. We have the physical self. So that would be myself. I would call it myself. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to, something silly. I had this conversation with my daughter who, about long hair, how to brush long hair, right? And she said, you're brushing your hair wrong. Like, how can you brush your hair wrong? Okay. It's hilarious. Anyway, I'm always open. I'm curious. I'm open to learning constantly. So I was like, okay, how do you brush your hair? Because she's had long hair for most of her life. She told me how she did it. I told her how I did it. So tonight, I brushed my hair how she does it. It was pretty good. I might even tell her that, right? She had a different way. It sounds ridiculous, but I'm just saying, how do you love the self? How do I love myself? So my hair, I don't cut my hair to do with a few things, but it's part of my journey, so I'm not expecting other people to do what I do in those ways. This is my journey and my evolution, and I'll share aspects of it, and if it works for you, so be it. I can model that for you. If not, put it aside and cut your hair, right? It doesn't matter. If you want to eat meat, or if you want to drink alcohol or whatever, do whatever. It doesn't. However, if you want to access in particular ways at particular stages, there are suggestions, okay? And it's not all about, it changes. So my experience and my students' experiences are at particular points of their evolution. Different food needs to come in for their energy, because the green smoothies and the raw vegetables don't give enough, right, for the next surge into higher centers. It's everybody's different, but what I can tell you from my experience and from my students who have modeled my model have benefited from this information. Keeping your nervous system intact and strong, right? Because you've got your physical nervous system, energetic nervous system. We're dealing with the both together. There's no separation, right? So when you're on your spiritual journey or your evolution, your nervous system is being put through the ringer, and it's really important that you care for the physical body in that way. So taking minerals, keeping your minerals up, things like that, and vitamins if you need them. What else? Yeah, Stephen's asking, why do I not cut my hair? It's so everything of our body is an antenna, so to speak, and so the hair is also an antenna. Each to their own. Why some people, monks and whatnot, shave their head? There is particular. Okay, so I'll tell you this. This is good. So to me, the hair ends are the antenna. Yes, the hair ends are the antenna, Dina. You are spot on. So I don't even cut the ends, but what I do, so, considering I haven't cut my hair for years, I don't have any split ends. It looks a bit, but I have got curly hair. I've got frizzy hair, right? So it looks a bit frizzy on the ends, but I oil it. I put oil, sesame seed oil. One of my yogi friends suggested it, and he oils his whole body before a shower. So that's another way that you could look after the self as well. I oil my hair, and yeah, I don't use products and all of that sort of stuff. Like it's literally, I wash it, I oil it. Sounds like a car, doesn't it? Because this is my car. So each to their own. But why some people shave the head, and this was something one of my teachers explained to me many, many moons ago. And I had thought about shaving my head too, because sometimes, okay, how do I put this? When we're going through this journey, we get to a point where there's so much energy and we are in that transcendental state, right? In the spaces between the spaces. You could call it treading water at the the fountain of life. So if you've got this torus field coming through the body, we are the bridge to heaven and earth. We've got this toroidal field. If you looked at that as a fountain of water, where are you going to tread water? Where do you want to sit? Some people want to stay in particular spaces, right? So depending on what religion, what path, what, there's different ways. So you find your own way. Where do you want to sit? The thing is that I'm just thinking back to these times where there were times when I was trying to be in the world. So I had a career, I had a lot of responsibility, I had people's lives depending on me, and I was a freaking space cadet, right? I was off, like I was there, but I was off because it's difficult. It is difficult to be going through that process and moving through the higher centers, right? Because it's almost like you need that time away from society to deal with it. But I didn't have that luxury, right? So it was tough. It was tough. Time collapses, time-space collapses at the head. So it's like you have no understanding of time. And when you've got to be at appointments and things like this, it's like, it's okay for you. It drives other people mad, batty. They start to, you get pulled up by your boss a few times and what's going on. But if you can handle that and find ways through that, and I've got a million ways, so that's why I guide people through these stages so that they can be in the world and be evolving and doing these or riding those systems and adjusting to those waves of energy, or those you're acclimatizing, right? And until you've acclimatized, it can be really difficult because it's like you're living in, I say you're toggling the world, you've got a foot in each world, but at other stages, you're toggling multiple worlds, it feels like. I know that sounds bizarre, but some of you would have experienced some of that or little glimpses of that. And you're coming back and forth. But when you get to a particular stage, you are literally in two worlds at once. And how you navigate that can be really tricky, especially if you've got family and children and a job, to do. It can be tricky to juggle all of that. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say about that. So you're in the world, but not of the world. So some people shave their heads. And the Hare Krishna have the little tassel at the back, because there's a still point. That's called the still point. So they have where the little piece of hair, do you know what I'm talking about? They have the shaved head and they have a little piece of hair just at the base of the occipital lobe. And that's, coconut oil. I don't like coconut oil on my hair. It stays too oily and it clumps. It doesn't merge in very well. I eat coconut oil. So the shaving and cutting of hair and the different hairstyles that some people have, and whether people wear, turbans or hats or different headdress, it's all energy related. How we are wanting to receive. And when you shave your head, and you were sitting at this place, you know, basically ajna, higher ajna, and then as your hair grows back. So I know a monk that had that, where he needed to shave his head because of what was happening for him, and then as he grew his hair back, he was grounding back in. So there's an aspect of where we ascend. Bear with me if this doesn't make sense. This is all this information will be eventually. I used to do the Conscious Evolution course and monthly support groups. I've stopped just recently with the support groups because I wanted to write the manual to go with the course. And while I'm on tour, I'm going to try to put some of that together. I've written over the years, I've written all of my experiences, and it's just a matter of putting it into a format or modules so that when I speak about something, then you have, I suppose, the written, you know, so how to do the particular activations and whatnot will be there. So anyway, whether I get that done or not, who knows, but that's my intention, is to start putting that together, or parts of that together. So the Sunday classes that may not even be on Sundays. For the last year, I've been doing Sunday live teachings. So this isn't a teaching, this is just sharing and answering questions if there are any questions. I was just looking to see if there's questions. But the Sundays are short teachings. So anyway, I'll put it out when they all start again, because it's through the Blue Star community, and there's 4 of us that are co-creating together, and it's just, we need to work out a new way of doing that so that you'll have 4 different people that you can get free teachings from, and we're all working together. So it's a collaborative service, so to speak. So did I finish off about the hair? So what are the benefits of not cutting the hair? For me, they're my antennas. It's like having extra fingers or extra connections to information. So the Sikhs don't shave at all. So the women don't shave their legs, or, you know, they keep all their body hair. The men, you'll see, when their beard grows, they twist it or and tie it up, and they put it into the turban as well. So it's all for similar reasons. You know, it's all antenna. So have you ever felt the hair, like if you're, so, okay, maybe you haven't, but this is how I feel. I can feel, if I'm outside and I can feel the hairs on my arms move, right? Like you can feel their antenna, the skin is shifting and moving depending on the environment, right? The skin's breathing and doing its thing. So those hairs are there. We have hair up our nose, around particular places for a reason. Mind you, I don't. Anyway, that's too much personal information. But okay, so what was I saying about? I got sidetracked with the hair. I did do a blog on this. I'll see if I can find it. I don't know if it's still on the blog, but I did write a lot about hair and different ways of knowing in regards to hair. And so when you're treading water at the ajna, so, you know, if for instance, I say that I sit in the recliner just here, you know, there's in that cave behind behind my mid-brow just here, I've got a recliner chair and I hang out there and I drive the avatar from there, right? So I'm treading water in the fountain of life from there. Some people want to tread water higher. But if you want to be in this world, it becomes very difficult. So it's about that, where do you want to drive the vehicle from and what you're able to manage, right? So let me read some of these. Hope that makes sense. Water. What do you mean water? Oh, the energy, it's a metaphor. So the energy that flows around, it's like a waterfall. It's sprouting, right? Water, waterfall. Where do you want to tread water? Where do you want to sit? And, you know, do you want to sit at lower density consciousness, you know, your heart center, or a higher consciousness is at the shoulders and above? You know, and it's not about, see, I've heard many people say over the years about, you know, it's not about, you know, being a space cadet or the transcendental stuff, you know, leaving the body and whatnot. No. However, once you've made that journey, if you're earthed and your infrastructure's solid, you make that journey. And then you come back around and the information and the knowing and the insight and the universal intelligence that you have access to comes around and works with the power spots or the chakras of the physical body as well. So it comes back around. But many human are working on the lower triangle, which is lower density consciousness, and no judgment, because you know, it takes us all. But there are some of us that are on a different journey, and that's okay too. But it is, even with the intuition, so the lower aspects of the body, the physical body, so sort of navel down or lower solar plex down, is more dense and really just that black or white, you know, it's one or the other. Whereas as we raise in our perspective and what we can access, because the lower centers are animal instincts, so to speak, animal intuition, so survival intuition. But as we raise, we go to a higher intuition where we can start to really bring in. So Stephen, I think that was you that was asking, or it might have been the other Stephen, was asking about what your spiritual gift, or, you know, accessing your gifts and whatnot. Everything that I've spoken about today is part of that, but I've spoken about it more in the evolution or the ascension process rather than just purely energetic. I don't know why I did today, it just came out. Because I don't usually talk this much about the, you know, the journey, the path. So as we raise, we get to that higher intuition, but then we've got a third intuition, which is divine intuition. And you don't get that until you access your higher centers, okay? So why do some people see, feel, sense, know more than others? Because they're activated at higher levels and the veils are removed so they can access more of that light, which gives access, so to speak, to universal intelligence. So Um, it's how we move through the matrix and through the web and through all these other energy lines. And going back to the 72,000 nadis, I love this. I've written about it before, so I might repost it on here. I wrote, I think it was a poem or a little story about the 72,000 nadis. And, you know, it's like life is strumming those nadis like a harp, right? And I put a picture of a harp. So I'll post that on the link here so you can have a look to understand how the harmonics fit into that as well. And at each one of these centers that I'm talking about is sound and is also geometry. So, you know, light, sound, color, pattern, aspects of intuition. So your frequency or the sheaths that cover us or the lack of them determines what we see, feel, sense, know in the world. So so if that was you, Stephen, I remember it was a Stephen, whether it was you. Actually, I don't think it was you. I think it was the other Stephen. But anyway, there you go. You got the story anyway. He was asking how to activate or how to access his gifts, or what are his gifts. Gifts meaning, you know, I think he was talking about his spiritual awareness and, you know, seeing, feeling, sensing, knowing, tasting, smelling, energy, whatnot. This is how you do it on a different level. So there, you know, as you raise in your frequency, you get all the psychic experiences. Not all psychics have full access to what I've been talking about, but when you have full access, you have all the clairs, I call them, you know, clairsentient, clairaudient, you know, all the clairs. So, all right. Oh, you did ask that last week. Okay, good. I knew it was a Stephen, but I don't often look at the last name, so just. So I'm going to wrap it up. It's been. Oh, this one's been an hour, but I think we might have been going for half an hour on the other call. So is there anything, let me see. Is there anything that you want to have clarity on that maybe I scooted over a lot? No, it's not bad to cut your hair. If you want to cut your hair, you cut your hair. I had long hair, it was probably about this long when I was young. Actually, I had my mum was the only one who cut my hair until I was 12. Very embarrassing. But she never really cut it because I had long hair. My hair was as long as it is now, up until 12 basically. I had a fringe though, or bangs, whatever you want to call them. And when I got to high school, I got my first real haircut. It was so wonderful. To about shoulder length. Anyway, I've had really short hair over time, but it's been the last few years, probably the last 4 years, I've maybe had one haircut, maybe two, I don't know. Anyway, so you can cut your hair or not cut your hair. It's like anything. What are you here for? Like my job, my role, what I'm here to do won't be the same as yours. It just won't be. You might have an aspect of it, but you know, majority of you won't want to live how I live, and that's okay. I think it was you, Diane, I was talking to about this. It's like, you know, it's almost like you've got the ones that, so I'm a way shower, right? So my experiences and what how I move through the world and how I'm pushing the system to my highest evolution, that's my work, so that I can assist the others. So I'm just got my hand out and I'm saying, come on, This is the way. This is this step, right? I'm not better than anybody, right? It's not about anyone being better. It's what our roles are. We've all got different roles and different paths, and that is one aspect of mine. And I don't know why. I didn't ask for it, okay? I was just told this is what you're doing, and I was like, I don't even know how, and I just started sharing, and here I am today, still sharing. So, Dina, I asked you a question. What did you ask, Dina? Because I probably missed it. I've missed lots, and I apologise. So what did Dina ask me? Oh, I'm listing, but I have a question that is unrelated before I forget. Okay, is this, oh, that's a big one. Okay, let me read it. I was sleeping earlier and the number 66 revealed to me at 2 different times that 1A supposed father was giving me some clear chords and a remote. The son-in-law and I was discussing number 200. So the question is, can you shine any light on this? Thank you. My dreams have been really lucid lately. Okay. Because I'm about empowerment, what I generally do is I don't give you full answers to your dreams because and you can go and grab a dream book and whatnot, but I'm telling you, most of the time it won't be what yours mean. Your symbols and what they mean to you and how you experience them will be very personal. Okay. Now there is my background's Jungian, right? I trained as a therapist and studied Freud and Jung, but I'm more a Jungian. Okay, so Carl Jung, who interprets dreams and whatnot. I also do sand play therapy with all the miniatures, or and how we choose those miniatures to put in the sand is a representation of our subconscious and whatnot. What I've found is that there are general things that cover everybody, but some you've just got to be very careful not to put your interpretation onto somebody else. So I can tell you this much. Generally, a house in a dream, the house is your body most of the time. So if you're dreaming about a house, this could get a bit personal. So I'm just going to scan it. And it's hard to read big questions like this because my phone text is tiny. So what I'm going to say on that, which you may not be happy with, but it's too hard for me to read all of that. Discussing if we had to pay. Dreaming the number. Download code. Okay. Feel into it. But the house to me is the body, representing the body, and the aspects of the people that are in your dream are aspects of the self. They're not actually about the people usually. Okay. In saying that, yeah, you've written about lucid dreams. There's different types of dreams. So, is it a precog dream? I don't know. Do you have precognition? Because some people dream what's coming up. Some people, it's, there's levels of consciousness within those dreams. Okay, so I was telling somebody, I don't think she's on here, but she said, usually when I start working with people, they start dreaming about me, and not in any lewd way or anything, but it's but I teach a lot in my dream, in my sleep. So a lot of my work's done in my sleep, and so I worked with her for the first time this week, and last week, sorry, and I've been in her dreams 3 times, and I generally ask what was the lesson, or what was the, because there's usually a point. So don't get too caught up on it. It's if it's recurring and it keeps coming up, have a dream journal, or have a journal. I have journals. I have numerous journals for different things. Write it down and just start looking for the patterns. If you start putting, it's like pulling a card and whatnot. Don't give it too much energy. It's just information. When you start to see that information in numerous places, start paying attention. Okay? Numbers, look, I know people who watch the numbers all day, every day. Like, why? We know particular numbers are just saying you're not alone. But you know that anyway. You're not alone, right? These great forces are with you. You've just got to be open to them and invite them in. Like just saying, okay, that great mother energy, start talking to her. Start caring for yourself. Start caring for the self. And that means loving her, bringing her into your world in a much deeper way. So that energy is, in a nutshell, that energy, you could, see, I say her or Shakti. I used to say Shakti because I needed something to, like that categorizing again. But then you get to a point where you've merged that, you've integrated it, and you're onto another energy, because at different levels there's different energies or aspects of self. So higher self, soul self, I am presence, and whatnot. These are all going to be merged and integrated into this vessel, all as one. So, so when you start to have a relationship, so that external relationships with family and friends and whatnot are like practice for the relationship with the internal energies, which ultimately give you the relationship with, that, what I call the beloved. So I'm going to end it there because I've got a plane to catch. So probably didn't answer your question very well, Dina. Just got curious about repetition of 66. Hey, Sandy. Nice to see you too. I find that sometimes foretell the future, which I have experienced. One of my friends, she's a precognition for me in her dream. And it took her years. And I knew it because she'd come and tell me her dream, and it would be exactly what's just happened, but she might have dreamed about it before it happened. And so, again, I don't ever go to her and ask her, but occasionally she'll message me and say, I had this dream and this is what it was. And I'll be like, you got no idea of your gifts, your access, right? She access. I've known her for a long time, and I've pretty much taught her everything I know. She's been through for probably, I don't know how many years we've known each other, but I used to go and do all the practice and everything, and then I'd come and tell her everything that, it's like whether she wanted to know or not. And then she became a student and whatnot, and now so there are people that have precognition. You might have your own precognition. I mentioned this the other week, that my precognition is more of the external galactic stuff. So what's happening with the energies of the earth and the sun and the galaxies and whatnot, I tend to see and hear and experience those energies before most other people. I used to write about it all the time, but now, again, it's like the dreams. It's like, after a while, it's like, is that just a distraction? Like, what is your role here? What are you here to do? And by knowing that information, is that changing anything? So when I would hear particular sounds, I would know that there would be earthquakes, right? So I used to scan where the earthquakes were and whatnot. But I can't stop them. And, you know, so what do you do with that information? So sometimes you get information and there's nothing you can do with it, and it's not really helping you in any way or anybody else. So, you know, just park it at the side. You're aware of it. I hear these sounds, but there are earthquakes all over the world every single day. I hear them, right? I hear them. But there's not anything, it's just the earth. I hear what's happening with the earth, okay? So with the dreams, you'll see things, you'll see numbers, you'll see patterns, you'll see colors and whatnot. Don't get distracted by them. Document them, by all means. Write them down, but don't get caught up in it, because it can take you, right? The goal is the access. Everything that you're experiencing is on the path to the access. I'm probably sounding like a bit of a killjoy here, but I'm telling you because, oh my God, I used to analyze everything. It distracts you from the path. It distracts you from what's important. So pay attention. Again, it's like just observing in the neutral space. So when you practice observing from that neutral space, it just is. It doesn't matter. It just is. So if you see numbers or you see colors or you see particular birds all the time, crows and ravens hung around me for years, like literally would come and sit on me everywhere I went in the world. Even where they said they didn't have them, they would appear. It's like, well, right? After a while, I just went, oh yeah, so they were here just before. They are my totem. So your totem animal can choose you, or you can choose it. It chose me. I did not choose it. It chose me. So what does that mean? I could go into all of that. It doesn't matter. It's the energy of the sentient being, right? It's the energy of it that matters to me, not what the human puts and covers it with, right? Try to find the neutral space where you can see it all from. I'll get off my soapbox now. Sorry, I get passionate about some things. All right. I'm just going to have a quick look and then I might go, because I've got to unpack and everything, but I'm going to get changed and have some dinner. Okay, let me just check. There's a few. Thank you, everybody saying have a safe trip. So if you're in any of those states, New South Wales, well, it's around Wollongong, so South Coast. Victoria, so to be in Melbourne, and Queensland on the Gold Coast, somewhere around there, and you want to come to the workshops, let me know, and we can hook you up and do a payment plan if you need. And I'll be back in Perth around April. Crows and ravens for me too, not the distractions. Okay. Oh, Murray said that's pretty cool. Don't know what is, but it's funny when I go back through the comments and that, because sometimes I don't know what they relate to. Have a safe trip. Thank you. Nice to see you again. Just got curious. Yeah. I would get curious too, and I suppose I'm just sharing. It's like, I suppose it's when your mother says, don't do what I did. Because I'm so analytical. and I love research, right? I look for patterns. So you can imagine, I used to do my head in trying to work out what everything meant, right? And it distracts from the path. So once you have, you're well and truly on your path, then all the information comes to you. So I think that's a good place to sort of sit. Okay, it's, oh gee, nearly lost my smoothie, nearly knocked it off the table. Okay, I'm going to go. I'll see if I can link in next week, and I'll be way down the south coast. I'll be down near St George's Basin. In fact, I'll be seeing my father, who is the magnetics expert, and I wonder what goodies I'll come away with this time. I might even go to where I used to go as a kid. We used to hang out on particular naval base areas along the beach, and that sort of come up, and I'm not sure why. So it's calling me. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to get on there, but we'll see. But it's to do with the magnetics, and the it's where I first, because I grew up, my dad worked on some of the first massive computers that were bigger than your room, you know, they were huge. And sometimes us kids would just hang around where he was working. He was, you know, monitoring for enemy submarines and stuff. Like, and I would have been like maybe 8, you know, 8 or 9, running around these massive big computers and sonar and all sorts of stuff. And when I look back now, I was like, whoa, how does that all influence what I do today? With the subliminal stress and the invisible energies and you know, the magnetics of the earth and whatnot. It all relates back to my dad. Okay, so with much love, and if any aha moments or anything comes in that you go, oh my goodness, what is she on about? I really need to know about this. Pop it in, and because I'll be waiting around for the plane, waiting around for the shuttle. I've got a 3-hour drive from Sydney to the south coast, so I'll have time to check out your comments and whatnot, or questions. So love you and leave you, and the word for tonight, I think, is grace. Go with grace, humility and grace, and love for the self. Court the self. Be gentle with the self, and build that magnetic force. Do your practice. If you don't have a practice, message me. We could work out a practice for you. Okay. Ciao, ciao.